Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Jimmy Palumbo Show. That's right. This is show number 175 here at Shea.
Or 195.
Oh, 195. In an effort to make myself feel younger, I just shaved off 20 weeks of fine podcasting by saying this is show number 175. In reality, it is show number 195. One Oswald Cabrera for a quick 3 out of the box. And also your friend and mine, Jonathan Hankins from the Giants, who also played a year with the Cowboys. And of course, for Dave's dad, Dave Stalls. Don't know if you remember him.
No, I was going another dad-ish era, like early 90s, late 80s defensive tackle for the Cowboys, Chad Henning.
I did see that. I didn't. There you go. And of course, this is show number 195. We're going to get into, this is like maybe a sad show because we're going to get into the Yankees losing Soto to the Mets and the Cowboys having their thing, and also the Giants their thing, and Rutgers their thing on Saturday. So there's a lot of non-winning situations here, but Dave and I have decided to put together a winning podcast here, even though we probably about the minute 35 mark will be trailing. We have a special guest, an actor who many of you know, or even if you don't know, I know him. And Joe's listening in right now. You don't know. I'm going to keep it a surprise until we pop him on, because it's my show. I get to do what I want. But of course, what we do at the top of the show. First of all, Dave, how are you doing?
What a loaded question. Today, no good. Usually, listen, when a team is down in their record, right, and you're like, okay, is there a mathematical shot? Sure. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, even if they did squeak in, they'd probably get their break speed off them in the playoffs or whatever. But man, oh man, this Dallas team has officially found a new way to lose. I haven't seen a play like that since the 1993 Thanksgiving special with Leon Lett against the Miami Dolphins, where it snowed in Texas Stadium, in which he touches a blocked field goal, makes it a live ball. It's exactly what happened last night. The Cowboys had him on the ropes. We were about to win the game. And so they gutted me, and that was in lieu of, I figured, okay, if Soto's going to bounce and all that shit, we'll get into that. If he's going to bounce and go to Flushing, Queens, or whatever, the least that can happen is that the Cowboys stay relevant. And, well, no. So that's how
I got to admit, I watched the second half. Again, I come from a different point of view. You're a longtime fan. What I saw again, and again, I'm 59 years old, I saw a horrific telecast of NFL football. Same with the Giant Dallas Thanksgiving game and many other games. I think both Bengals and Cowboys, they just stink. But that being said, I've been telling you for the last 3 weeks now, if the Cowboys had snuck into the playoffs, right? Let's say they get in, if they got in. I don't think they can do it now. But if they had won and they sneak in the week before, you can win a playoff game, man. I mean,
sure.
So
I mean, I witnessed it last year. We were the 2 seed, and the Packers came in as the 7,
right?
The first ever 7 seed,
right?
And in typical Cowboy fashion, they get knocked off.
I think the Giants one year made the playoffs. They were 4-12, and they won the Super Bowl. So with Eli Manning, so it can happen. But they just, the way that the game is, I mean, the guy blocks the punt, and then I know what, if you watch I watched the replay a couple times. I was like, what did this guy do? And you almost can't blame him. The ball kind of it came right to him, though. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like there was a lot of bodies around, and I think I would have done the same thing. If anybody who bashes that guy, they're wrong.
Here's the thing: when I coached in, not in the NFL, I almost said when I coached in the league. No, when I coached high school ball, there was a specific code word you would use,
eagle or something like that.
You call it poison. So if something happens, poison, get the fuck away from the ball. That's a live ball. Get out of there. Just get rid of it. The only way it becomes a live ball is if you touch it. So get the fuck out of the way. And this kid is a rookie or a 2-year guy.
Yeah, but it wasn't a pure. There was a lot of bodies around.
I get it.
It was a freak. You know what it was? It was a freak play. If you think about it.
And again, in a season like this, where we lost Demarion Overshawn last night, and dude, that kid's been playing tremendous football, and they're saying that he might not be back until 2026. That's how much he tore apart his knee. And that sucks because he just recovered off ACL.
In the NFL, that means you don't really come back.
Ever. You're done, right? And that's very
sad. That's sad. Yeah, well, that's the threat of professional sports like that. It sucks. Hate to see that, but the Giants have been pretty injured for a while, so the injury thing. Some years nobody gets hurt and you play well. Other years everybody gets hurt and you suck. But the Cowboys have some hull damage there. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Cowboys. Cooper Rush, I mean, I don't know.
And then I was thinking to myself, like, oh, what would turn this team around if they move on from Mike McCarthy? And I'm like, you really need a football guy, a guy that knows the game. Let's go get Bill Belichick. And oh, by the way, he's off the market today. So it's like,
where did he go?
He agreed to terms to become the head football coach of the University of North Carolina, Jimmy.
That just broke. I missed that.
That make sense. And you know what? The caveats, bro, the fucking terms that this dude agreed to in this deal. And again, the ball's in his court to sign it. They agreed to it. It looks like it's going to happen. But in the deal, he said, yeah, I'll come coach, but you got to put in the deal that my son is the coach after I retire.
That never works. That's bad.
Well, that's exactly what he put in the contract, and now he's going to go coach United. Listen to me, North Carolina football, in which
they had an old man. They already had an old man coach. Now they bring in another. I think today's world. I think that's a bad hire, and I'll tell you why. Because it's an NIL world. You need someone who knows how to do that. And Belichick's listen, they'll be better.
He comes from NFL free agency, so he has an idea as to what to do when it comes to spending.
Different, man. You transfer portal, NIL. There's no contract. You leave whenever you want. You can leave after week 8.
Do you think just based off of his resume? Do you think this is a Dion effect, meaning like a lot of people are going to go play for him?
I think so. Yeah, he'll steal a few guys.
North Carolina becomes a powerhouse in like 2 years.
Yeah, but he's 72 years old. Yeah. Well, it's good. Listen, he's dating a student there. He's
dating a sophomore.
That makes sense. Yeah, and he'll be she'll be in the student section leading the cheers. Of course, every guy that mocks that out, I'm like, really?
Okay. Last night, I don't know I don't know which part of the telecast you watch, but I don't know how much more attention they would have paid to the Cowboys cheerleader who just so happened to be dating the kicker of the Bengals, right? So they kept going back, and every time they went back to her, she was like praying, literally like, "Oh God, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord." Like if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm like, get her off the fucking team.
She's gone. She's gone. Goodbye. I
don't care how hot you are. You're out. You don't get the root for the fucking other team.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. Well, the only team that should have whatever you call them, cheerleaders is the Cowboys. That's one good thing about the Giants. They do not have cheerleaders. I actually think that's cool.
No, but
of course, they also don't score touchdowns.
They also got planes circling.
They got planes saying, Mara, clean up the mess. But the problem is, it should say, hey, NFL, clean up Mara. Like Mara's part of the problem. Hate to say it, but it's true. All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But of course, it's the baseball card part of the show. And this guy is a wonderful, everybody, your friend and mine, Mr. Darryl Irvine. Now, let me tell you something. This is another classic reason why I do this. You know why, Dave? This guy did absolutely nothing. Okay. So he was 3 years in the league for Boston, right? But I clicked on the Baseball Reference. He played 9 years in the minor leagues. He was in every city in America this guy pitched in. His record overall in the major leagues was 4-5 with a 5.68 ERA, 41 games, no starts, and no saves. His rookie year, 17 innings, 15 hits, 10 walks, that means nothing good. Nothing good.
Stud.
But the first round draft pick, 20th pick by the Reds. Think about that. So all you you got to build through the draft. Yeah, okay. He's 6 years in the minors. Then he went to Boston, and then another year in the minors. Then he went back to Boston. Then another year in the minors.
He's going to lose track of where to play.
Right.
Like,
And
Do I make a right out of my street or a left?
Yeah,
'Cause I don't even know where
exactly
I'm going.
right. And then he finally got traded to Pittsburgh, and but his elbow was in tatters by then, so
Jesus.
he couldn't do it. He played in Virginia. He's from Virginia. He played little league baseball with Del Curry.
Wow.
And he, when you read stuff online, and he invited his kids to one of his basketball camps. But my favorite part is, when he was younger, he worked at a golf course in the golf shop. So when his career was over, he played a lot of golf, and he actually was in the PGA for a half second. One of those when you're a coach, you know what I mean? But then the guy running the golf shop was like, "Hey, listen, you hear so much? Why don't you just be the manager here?" So he is the manager of a golf shop down in Virginia.
He's still around?
He's still around. He's
I'll
still
make
alive.
a call. I'll make a call. Let's get him on the show.
He's doing just fine. He's got kids. He watched them coach and all that. He had a good quote. He said, "I did all I could to pitch in the major league." So he's just a nice guy who just wasn't that good,
fella.
bad elbow. But the funny thing is, and his wife works for a huge pharmaceutical company in sales. So I was like, oh, and that'll do it here.
Not a popular job as of late.
Yeah, but still, yeah, she probably makes $300,000 a year, and that's why they're leaving.
Probably got a target on her back.
Yeah, maybe now. But so that's what happened there. So good old Darryl Irvine, nice fella. Red Sox, and that's he, square jawed. Look at him, he's square, as Artie would say, square jawed, slender thighs. And that's it. So that's it for the card. Now, do you have a card?
No, I didn't get a card yet, man. You got to give me time. Probably episode 200. I'll have.
I think it's funny when you don't have a card, because of course you don't have a card. Now,
I've had a horrible morning.
I know you did. Your Cowboys lost.
It's not even that. There's just so much.
We're gonna get. I know. Listen. I read your play.
Go buy a fucking electric car. They said go do that.
Oh, I can't wait. That's a full segment coming.
Yeah, it's a full fucking.
But I want to talk about Patreon, because big announcement here. We do not have number 45. I think it's an announcement when we don't have a new Patreon member.
Well, maybe we'll get fucking Joe to.
I got to give a shout out to
Patreon.
Martin Waltsack, Colonia boy, and also a shout out to Neil Goldhaber, who I had season tickets to the Knicks with Jordan's rookie year, and I remember a pompous Jimmy Palumbo sitting in the blue section. And by the way, if you go to the Garden and you're sitting up in the blue section, that's like taking your television, putting it in across the street, a 35-inch television, by the way, putting it across the street and trying to watch a game. Anybody to know you're better off listening to it on the radio underwater than you are sitting in the blue. And all I remember going, this guy Jordan, just a score. You can shut him down. Wrong.
It's crazy. I have aspirations, and I don't know if this will ever come true, but I would love nothing more than to be courtside at a Knicks game. Just one game. Doesn't matter who against. I don't give a fuck. Like right behind, like Spike Lee, like, hey, Spike, what's up, man? Like right there. And I know those tickets are like $8,000 a game or whatever. So it's like
they're only like $1,500. It's not.
That's it, huh? Oh,
you know what? Listen, tell you what.
Credit card.
All you got to do is just run that by the wife later tonight. It's the holidays. Say, honey, I'm thinking about blowing $1,500 for a Nick Charlotte game here. See how that goes over there.
Right on board with it.
Right on board with it. And also Jason Clark, the son of one of my favorite Patreons, and Tyson Hogan. And, of course, your friend and mine, Dying Breed Garage, Will Pena. Got to give him a shout-out because he's always chiming in on the comments. And, of course, before we get to we got to get to a couple – well, we got to one thing. But I got to mention, please, I need my people to call up OxyMagicUSA.com, OXY. MAGIC, OxyMagic with a Y.
This entire podcast has turned into one big fucking infomercial.
Okay.
Watching the Jimmy Palumbo Show at 3 a.m. on
I still got this OxyMagic's important because I played pickleball with the guy. So I want to, I want to get a couple of sales off of this.
Yeah, of course.
So listen, this place is great. Listen, odds are you're having people over the holidays and your carpets look like shit. I can guarantee you that. So call up OxyMagic, have them clean. The price is good. They don't have tubes all over with the water flying all over the place. It's real easy. Dave used them. I use them. They're great. And because I know Miles is running amok on your carpet. Your daughter's probably a little neater, but maybe not when the makeup starts pouring all over the place. It dries in 1 to 2 hours. OxyMagic USA. You got to talk to Tom and Natalie over there. OXY Magic USA.com. Love to see I want to get a sale, damn it, before the holidays. That's what I want.
Come on, people. You're out there. You're listening. You're watching. If you need your fucking carpets clean, this is where to go. That's it. No other place. Do it. Give it to your wife for a gift. Hey, honey, take the Saturday off. But I wanted the vacuum. No. I got Oxy Magic.
We got Oxy Magic. Yeah, that's all you need. Right for the holidays. All right. Well, I thought the Giants played awesome. No, I didn't. The Giants just stink. But the only thing you could say, this is God, I got to write a book called Loser Talk. The Giants, they played hard. Like, for some reason in the fourth quarter, I was imagining myself, if I was a linebacker, I would be like, it's getting windy out here. I'm cold. I want to go home. But the Giants actually played to the buzzer. The fact that kick got blocked was just a microcosm of stench.
You kicked it right.
No, I watched the highlight.
As humanly possible. Yes, you jumped the line as you should, right? By
the way, when is the NFL? Two things the NFL's got to solve: the jumping over the center thing, because that's like I've seen it twice. For the Giants, did it once. I've seen that, and like the tush push and the jumping over the center, they got to change that. That's ridiculous. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot. You're going to have guys. Kamiko Toure, the jerk off on Rutgers. Remember that tall guy? He blocked like 11 punts. That's all. But the Giants stink, and the Saints stink. Oh my God, I tell you, who was watching that game? There was no one in the stands. It was horrible.
Darryl Clark was probably watching that game.
Darryl Clark was watching it and texting me that they suck too. The Cowboy game, like we talked about, that was just a shitty ending. And, it's a classic NFL, too. You get the weird hop. The guy does it down and out. Now, what part of the coaching staff said, listen, when you're covering one of the best receivers in the league, give him a little cushion, let him make the turn, and then dive with your hands at him so he can then do a pivot. He runs a 4-2 and waltz into the end zone. Like, what?
Yeah.
It was a horrible play by the kid. But the guy waltzed in, game over. Just terrible. And poor, what's his name? Doing the game, Troy Aikman was like, oh, you can tell. He's just like, this is bad. He should coach him. The Jets stink as well, although they finally look decent. But Rodgers looked okay, but they suck too. A lot of sucking going on.
Well, hey, listen, before you roll off the rest of the NFL, let's head on over to Madison. She's got some words about the Philadelphia Eagles and Carolina
Oscar
Panthers.
Madison and the Big O.
There you go. Maddie, take it away, kid.
Thanks, guys. This past weekend, I was able to attend my first Panthers game, not as a reporter, but as a fan. This past summer, I was a training camp reporter for the Carolina Panthers, and it has been awesome to see this team improve each week. Everyone says, oh, we're playing the Panthers. It's going to be an easy game. No, the Panthers have given a lot of teams this season a tough go. Bryce Young has been pretty solid since being benched, and out of the last 5 matchups, 2 of those games have gone into overtime. The Panthers gave the Chiefs a hard time. They gave the Bucks a hard time, and they did not make it easy for the Eagles this past weekend. Chuba Hubbard hit the 1,000-yard barrier on this season, and that is the first time he has done that in his 4 years of the NFL. The Panthers only have 4 games left this season, and they better hope that Chuba does not get hurt, because 2 of their backup running backs went down this past weekend against the Eagles, both Brooks and Blackshear, and it seems as if they won't be back anytime soon. I'm extremely excited to see what the Panthers can do in their last couple of games, as they are just continuing to improve. Back to you guys.
Okay.
It's funny, Madison. As the Cowboys now coming to town into Carolina this week. Ready for this? Ready for this amazing fall from grace for the Cowboys this year? The Carolina Panthers, for the last 2 seasons, 2 straight years, have not been favored at all.
Ooh, that's a bad stat. That's very Rutgers-like.
Guess what? They're favored this week over the Cowboys.
Are they really? Oh,
the first
my
time
God.
in 2 years,
That
the Carolina
stinks.
Panthers are favored against.
Listen, I agree. I agree with Madison. She makes a good point. The Panthers are one. They're a team that, like, if they're
scrappy.
they're scrappy, and if they're 6-6 next year at one point in the season, you'll be like, we saw this coming. But I hope they win a game so the Giants can get a better pick than them.
Well, the Giants are sitting pretty at 2 right now, right behind
2 wins. They're the only team in the NFC eliminated. All right, let's get to one more thing before we have our guest, and then we'll even bring him in on this discussion. Soto. I'm wearing my Yankee shirt here because the gloom and doom around the Yankee world. a couple of major things you need to understand. Giancarlo Stanton is still a member of the New York Yankees. So you don't have to worry. He's still there. He will carry this team. The Soto thing, listen, you can't talk about the money because, I mean, the Yankees offered $760 million another year. This guy's got a 5-year out. The players completely control the situation. Listen, if you want a guy that bats 288 and walks 100 times, he's the guy. He can't play the field. That's what you want to do with this. I was never a big Soto.
That's a bitter Jimmy comment.
Okay, first of all, I wasn't. You know why I'm not a big Soto? When's the last time I rooted for anyone that's in shape and that runs hard? I'm a Strawberry, Sierra, Cecil Fielder guy. This is Soto. If I was a GM, my team would have no. If anybody stole a base, you get fined.
Your favorite player is built like a Greek statue. What are you talking about?
He can't move. He's a statue. You got to roll him on first base. Yeah, but listen, the Mets, good job by Cohen. He's worth $20 billion, and he's giving this guy $51 million a year. The Mets will be all their spring training early on. It's going to be packed, and they got a good 1-2 punch, Lindor and Soto. Lindor will bat 250. He'll bat like 180 till around May 1st or May 15th. This should be funny. I mean, if you're a Met, this is high time. You've slayed the dragon. However,
they've never done it.
They outbid the Yankees, and look, from now on, it's always going to be Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Boston, and the Giants. Those are the 4 teams that can afford to get these big players. The money is it's $314,000 a game, even if you don't play.
He's making $1.60 a minute.
It's unbelievable. It's crazy, and I guess you'll get it back in jerseys, I guess. And TV ratings, maybe. I don't know.
There's no recouping this kind of money. There's just not. I don't care who you are, what your franchise is. And you know what's going to be great when the Mets faithful show up to Flushing and Citi Field next year, and they're like, "Hey, can I get 2 beers?" They're like, "Sure." Would you like to finance that? We have interest free. It starts here because each beer is now going to be $27. So you got to recoup it somehow, and that's the way you're going to do it. Look, I was mad, Jimmy, for about 8 seconds. I got the news on Sunday night. I was sitting next to my wife, and I got the alert on my phone, and I went like this. I was like, fuck. She goes, what's wrong? I said, Soto signed with the Mets. All right. And that was it. I was just I wasn't hell-bent on this.
It wasn't like Aaron Judge leaving. That's
another thing. You would think that maybe there's something to that, I think. I think that Soto didn't want to play Robin. You know what I mean? He were always going to be Robin in Gotham City. You know what I'm saying? So that's why – I also think maybe Soto, I don't really follow the Mets. I know they had a little bit of a decent ending there. Maybe Soto feels that the Mets might be a better team in the short run. Apparently he thinks that the future of the Mets is way brighter than the Yankees, and he might be right. As far as farm
could be right there.
Who knows? It just.
But listen, it's all got to play out. I would love to do. I'm sure there's an article. I would love to know the history on 10 to 15-year contracts in Major League Baseball. How they really turn out. But
he's going to wind up making $51 million as a 40-year-old man.
Right. But you know what? You know what's sad? Listen, how about Giancarlo Stanton when he signed a 10-year, $250 million contract? Now, he's a bargain basement guy.
He's jump changed now.
So maybe imagine you still got Juan Soto at 40 years old, of course. $51 million. He'll be available free agency. He'll get signed by somebody for the league minimum of $71 million.
Did you see the outs that the Mets gave him? The details about the out? Yeah. The out, you can do 5 years and out if you want, right? Or the Mets will up your yearly salary by $5 million a year for the back 10. So this thing will eclipse $800 million if you plays it through.
But you know what annoyed me? And I read an article in the Post this morning, bro. The Mets threw in, this is so bad. The Mets have a full suite just for his family, right?
Well, that's the thing. The Yankees denied him.
The Yankees gave him a discount on the suite. It's oh my God.
And then of course, after the signing, you got the stories coming out you had our bad running with our security detail.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What are you talking about? You know what I bet?
Me, dude, it was never the Yankees.
Okay.
Never.
And another thing, I guarantee you that it wasn't like his kind mother or uncle came in. Hi, we're here to see Soto. I bet it was a bunch of jerk offs coming in. No, man, we Juan Soto and walking right in, and Yankee Stadium, those guys don't fuck around. And neither they at Shea, and you can't. Security in New York, you can't mess with that. You can't just stroll in. I don't care. Well, Stanton's family's allowed to stroll in, but, because he's the best player on the team. But you can't just do that. So, what are you talking about? Some security guard making $35 an hour?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was mad for about 20 seconds and then gave it 24 hours to marinate. And I'm just like, you start seeing the plan B for the Yankees, which means like add a lot of other guys that you need to make the team better. Would I rather that than one player? Yeah, probably, right? But like, just when all these details started surfacing about security and suites and this, that, I'm like, you know what? Take your bitch ass to fucking Queens. And
I want a suite for my family.
Yeah, come on, dude.
What if you're in the middle of a slump and all of a sudden they cut to the camera up in that suite, like, and there's your family,
like with a flag, like, yay, by himself.
Fuck. Yeah, listen, you got to have the attitude. Once your player leaves, and if it was reverse, my Met fans will agree with this. Once your player leaves, it's like, fuck that guy. That's right. That's how sports is. I don't wish him. I don't want him to get hurt.
No, listen, he got us back. He helped us get back to the World Series for the first time since 2009. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your service, sir. But now you're gone, right? And when you come back to the Bronx, don't expect cheers.
You know what I look forward to? Diving line drive. Soto dives. He falls 11 feet short. That was one, Now, listen, he's a great player. He's a great player, but the money's crazy. Yankees tried. Cohen got him. I think you're going to start seeing stuff now. Yankees may get creative if they're going to try. I think in the future, when you got the Dodgers and right now the Dodgers are loaded up with Ohtani and a few other guys. But in the future, when a guy's got a year left, you might see the Yankees say, "Hey, listen, let's do a deal right now."
Well, to be honest with you, I think there's going to be some kind of fucking lockout in baseball because of what the Dodgers have done. I don't know if you've read up on all this deferred money. Like,
it's crazy.
All backloaded shit. Like,
what if they
Bonilla for the rest of their fucking lives?
What if they declare bankruptcy? Just bankruptcy courts? You never know. Crazy cat.
And you got Magic Johnson out there probably still paying for his AIDS medication. So it's
right,
like, whatever, man. Fuck
but more importantly, I think bigger than really the biggest thing about Juan Soto is that Jimmy has a guest on the Jimmy Palumbo Show right now, and we're gonna bring him on. Let's
do it.
Your friend and mine, Joe Barbera. Joe,
what's up, gentlemen?
Joe? All right, now listen, Joe. I got to give Joe a little. First of all, I met him through a priest. So we were kids. No,
start of a bad joke.
Yeah, I know. We were children, and we were very friendly with. We met through our common friend, Father Paul, who Dave knows, and Joe's friends with Father Paul. Now, Joe has been an actor for as long as I have. He's been on a lot of Broadway shows, Bronx Tale, the musical, Grease, Jersey Boys Live. I think that was in Vegas for 100 years there. He's been on FBI and Blue Bloods and Law and Order. Soap Star, what a strapping young fella, good-looking guy this is. All My Children, Another World. Most importantly, he was involved with the Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York on TV, which is in your IMDb credits.
Somebody looked up my IMDb, obviously.
Yes, it's me. And this is your friend of mine, Joe. Welcome to the Dave Sturchio Show.
I know Dave's really thrilled that I'm here today. I can tell.
I sent him an email with all your information, and he went into because his Yahoo thing doesn't work anymore. I don't know why.
It works. I just don't check it as much.
It did. It kept on coming back.
Maybe you're sending it to the wrong email.
Dave Sturchio at Yahoo. Whatever you send me.
It's David.Sturchio.
Yeah, David.Sturchio. What do you think I got it for? Listen, we're talking about emails. I got Joe on the show. Joe, listen, I got to ask you, first of all.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm in good shape. I got to be honest with you. Dave, sorry to say this, but I was thrilled last night because not that I'm a Bengals fan, but I made my fantasy football playoffs last night. And I got to tell you, get a load of this. Tell me if you've ever heard this happening. I started off the season 1-6, 1-6, and came back in a stunning display of resilience in a Balboa-like, Phoenix rising from the ashes. I came back and made the playoffs last night and took the fourth and final spot with a 7-7 record, and I couldn't be happier.
So I got to ask, 1-6. Can I make one guess as to who your quarterback was?
Yeah, you're probably not going to get it right though. But go ahead. Yeah,
Anthony Richardson.
No. I had Brock Purdy. We didn't have a great. Yeah, but you know what? I had Puka, who got hurt. He was my first. No, Garrett Wilson, who kind of sucked in the beginning. Had a couple of good games, but nothing special. And I had Puka, who was out for the first 6-7 games, whatever it was. So
you're really into fantasy football, right?
Not really into it, but it's fun. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, are you dating men now, or what's going on?
I
can't. Fantasy football to me. You're talking about Puka. You're a Giant fan, right?
I'm a.
Oh, you're a Dolphin fan.
Ultimately, I'm a Dolphin
from Florida.
fan. Ultimately, I'm a Dolphin fan, but I do root for the Giants if they're not playing the Dolphins. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Well, listen, Joe. Now you're in Ramsey or in Mahwah? Where are you?
Mahwah.
Where are you living?
Mahwah,
New Jersey. I got to ask you. I always
inviting them to your house, Jimmy. What the fuck? You guys could have sat next to each other.
I could have, but we don't know. We're not set up in that configuration. And I got my Christmas shit all over the place. But I see him at church, so we did during the. We always. Although I get your wife's attention first, but more on that.
That's true. Yeah.
First, I want to ask you. I always ask actors this. Now, you've been doing this, 30, 35 years?
Yeah, too long. Yeah.
What was your first show that you ever did? Not whether not necessarily professional, like the first thing that you did.
First thing, third grade, the Christmas play, Have a Heart, It's Christmas.
Ah, that's great. Did you get the bug then, or you just
Yes, because you know what happened? Sister Navard was her name at the time. Now it's Bernadette, but she's still with us, by the way. God bless her. Third grade, I was supposed to take a piece of candy from a candy dish, and we mimed it every time we rehearsed. And on the big night, she actually had the dish of candy there. She had it wrapped in cellophane. And I went to grab it, and she never took the cellophane off, so I couldn't get to the candy. So the whole play came to a screeching halt because I'm sitting there struggling, I'm pulling, and then I got down on one knee and I lifted up the dish and I'm trying to pull it, and the laugh is getting bigger and bigger. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like the longer I play with this thing, not that I was really playing with it, I was trying to get the candy out, but the longer I play with it, the bigger the laugh gets, and that it spurred something in me. I was like, oh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah. I love that. So third grade booking. Now, what was your first professional booking where you were like, oh man, I nailed one?
The first thing I really made a difference in my life, put it that way, was Tony and Tina's wedding.
Right. So I know Louis Martini and a bunch of guys.
Well, okay.
So I want to hear about. Well, you're still married, but I still want to hear about Tony and Tina's wedding. It's a wild show to do.
Well, first of all, you got to know this about Louis. Louis got fired. And that's how I got hired. I took his job.
That's great. I love it. We're gonna have Louis on next week. Now, Dave, do you know anything about Tony and Tina's wedding?
No, actually, when he said that, I was like, all right, so now this conversation is going to go off the beaten path. They're going to talk about their friend Tony and Terry or whoever the fuck.
No, listen, it was actually a groundbreaking play. I'll try to summarize it. You know what, Joe? You tell
New York.
The play started out, and you were at an Italian wedding.
Yes,
like the audience was
audience interaction. It was the first real audience interaction type of play. But the actors were all participating in a wedding, and if you went to the play, you actually showed up at a real church, and you were like a guest at the wedding.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
The actors would talk to you. There was interaction with the audience. They talked to each other. It was improv. A lot of 80% of it was improv. So you're just making up stuff on the fly. I mean, Jimmy would have been great, by the way.
I would have loved to have been in that show.
Yeah, you'd have been great at it. And that's really what it was. You did the ceremony in the church, and then the whole audience would walk down the street to a catering hall, and you'd have a reception with a band and food and macaroni. And,
that's awesome.
And yeah, it was a fun night.
It was a big hit. When's the last time? Has that been back on Broadway in a while?
It came back. It was well, when we did it was off Broadway. It was always off Broadway because it was a smaller house. But we did it I did it 92 to 94. It ran like 88 to, I don't know, late 90s, mid 90s, something like mid to late 90s. Then they brought it back for a little bit a few years ago. I don't remember. It was more.
Cool. I always thought it would be a cool show to do again. Bring it back. Yeah, I'm sure.
It's a lot of work.
I know right off the rip that Joe is a paisan because of the fact that he just called it macaroni, and not too many Italians call it macaroni anymore.
But it was macaroni. It wasn't spaghetti. It was
like
now.
It was like ziti. It was ziti.
Like rigatone.
Now, Joe, I know you were a soap star there for a while. And of course, I was on Guiding Light for one episode. Now, Guiding Light.
I said, by the way, just so I nodded yes, like at the soap store. I usually bristle at that term, but
well, you were some major characters on some soaps. Yeah. Now, I was on Guiding Light, which Guiding Light started off on the radio in 1895.
Yes.
And ran until the day after I shot Guiding Light. The day after.
Me.
Headlines.
You shut down production?
Headlines of the Daily News. Guiding Light going off the air.
Seriously.
My friends had a field day. And then my episode got cut off between a Supreme Court announcement. Who goes,
the OJ trial. Like,
now, let me ask you how it was crazy. I can't believe the way how fast you got to do those shows with.
Oh my gosh!
I heard. Now, my friend, you know Sonia Satra?
I do.
A friend of mine. You do? She's a doll. I was totally in love with her in college. She told me, like, you got to get to the set and you just go to your dressing room because there's like 40 pages of dialogue you got to memorize. How bad was that for you?
It becomes a muscle. You get better at it as you go along. Like we weren't really, we were sticklers, but not really sticklers for every single syllable and every punctuation mark. If you got the gist of it and you didn't change the meaning, it was, they bought it and moved on. We have 30, 40 pages a day. But you just get, you get used to it. It was a great gig. I got to be honest with you. It's one of the best gigs.
Well, it's a 9 to 5. It's like a 9 to 5 job, right?
I mean, there are days when you're there until 10 o'clock at night. There's days when, the shoot runs late. There was one time in 5 years that I actually lived in my dressing room for 3 days. Like we worked until like 3 o'clock in the morning and then had to be back on the set at 6. And I lived there for 3 days, but that's rare. Mostly it's Monday to Friday, basically 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And
the money was really good back then.
Money's good and you're done and you have your nights and weekends free and you can have a life. You do theater and Broadway theater is like you have no life because you're working when everybody else is off every night. And then Wednesday you're in early and then, Saturday you're in early and Sunday you're in early and good luck owning your kids' football games because, your weekends are shot and go to practice. Basketball game shot.
I auditioned for 2 Broadway shows on my career, and I laughed at how I was like, if I book this, I'm not ready for this.
No, it's a lot.
8 days a week, 8 shows. I mean,
I got one coming up, and I'm starting to get training right now. I got one coming up in a couple of months, and I'm starting to already start training.
Is it Broadway or off Broadway?
Broadway.
What show? You can't say what show it is.
It's a big one. It's called. It was just announced like 3 days ago. It's called Just in Time. It's the Bobby Darin story. And,
you're doing. I'm going to bring my. First of all, I'm definitely getting. I'm mooching you for tickets because my daughter's a big Bobby Darin fan, along with me. I'm a huge Bobby Darin fan. Yeah.
So Jonathan Groff is playing Bobby, and he's the reigning Tony Award winner. Reigning Tony Award best actor.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, when does that open up?
Opens April 23rd, something like that. But then we start previews in March. Yeah, previews in March.
I'll go to the previews. How much different is the preview from the opening?
It depends on the show. I don't think this will be that different. I mean, they still work on certain things, and the probably previews for us is like you got to do the show at night, then you got to come back the next day and still rehearse all day, and then go back and do the show at night. You're still making changes and cuts and trying this work, that didn't work, this joke didn't work. You make little changes, but it's not in my experience, it hasn't been a drastic change. So it's kind of the same. That cheaper to come to the previews.
Now you're also, in my mind, famous for another thing. I had to do my research.
Okay.
You proposed to your beautiful and lovely wife, who I saw at church yesterday, because we were both at Holy Day of Obligation yesterday.
Right.
That's right. That's why I said, come on the show tomorrow. But you proposed to your wife live via remote. She was a television host.
That's true.
A morning show, right? Morning show.
Yeah.
And you got on the air. They were like, she was like, "Oh, honey, we've been dating." And next thing you know, you said, talk to me. What? Walk me through that.
Okay. Well, that's it's a little complicated. So she was a morning show host at the NBC affiliate in Youngstown, Ohio. And I was doing Another World on NBC. So we would do appearances, all over the country. The network affiliates would have us out and do appearances, go to a county fair, whatever, sign an autograph. So I met her on an appearance where she was like the host of the event and she was interviewing me for their show. So
Base hit to center. All right.
right. So we dated long distance for quite a while. For not quite a while, actually, not that long at all. Maybe 6-7 months, something like that. But she at one point had said, and it was not a pressurized thing at all. It was just she was getting frustrated with going back and forth. We were going back and forth every weekend, and she was like, if I got a better job, I would quit my job. And she grew up in Ohio. I mean, she was like an Ohio girl. She's like, I'd quit my job and leave and move to New York if I got a job. That was kind of a commitment, And then a couple of weeks went by, and she's like, if I just got an equal job, I would do that. And by the way, she always said, or if we ever like someday got engaged, like I would of course quit and move. But it wasn't a pressure thing. It was just a little aside. And then a few weeks went by. She's like, if I just got an equal job, I would do it. Or we ever got engaged, I would move. And then she's like, if I just got
Home Depot,
any
like
job. And then she's like, if I got any job at Home Depot, if I worked at the, at Arby's, or we got engaged or something, I would move. And then at one point she was just like, screw it. I'm just going to quit and I'm going to move. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, you good? I go, yeah. And then it just dawned on me, like, it was poetically just if we actually did get engaged, because it would have made her initial, the bar that she set, it would have made that come true. Right. So that's when it dawned on me, oh, maybe this is the time. And it was kind of early in our relationship. It was like 9 months in.
Wow.
So anyway, they called me and said, would you come on the show and surprise her with a little appearance, via phone for her last day. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the time if I'm going to do it. And
was her last show? I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Oh yeah, she was leaving. It was the end of our last show.
Yeah, and Joe came on and then just said, "Hey," it was very sweet. You were like, "Hey, honey,
you know what? I take
your commitment."
I got to tell you, because my mindset was not really there up to that point.
So you didn't know while you were on the phone you were going to pull the trigger?
Oh no, I knew that. Right. But I mean, up till like 2 days before, my mindset, I didn't know. Right. So the funny thing was, we shot out in Brooklyn, and her morning show was from 5 to 7, I think, in the morning. So we had to be in rehearsal at 7 o'clock. So they would pick us up. The show, Another World, would send a car and pick us up and take us to the studio in Brooklyn, since we lived in Manhattan. And sometimes if there was 2 actors had to be at the set at the same time, they'd pick both of us up, right? So the other actress who had to be at the set at the same time I was, who was in my car, was Rhonda Ross. It was Diana Ross's daughter. So I called Rhonda the night before, and I'm like, hey, the only person on the planet other than my mom and her dad, my parents and her dad, who knew that I was going to do this was Diana Ross's daughter. And
that's crazy.
And she got me. I'm like, can you get to the car a little early? I want to.
Wait, you did ask for the hand with the father?
I did. I asked your dad.
There you go. Double that a lot. There you go.
And so Rhonda, and so we go to the studio, and the place is empty because we're there at like 6:30 in the morning, and there's nobody there. So it's just me and Rhonda in the entire building. And I'm on the phone with her show, and I'm live on the air in Ohio. And then, asked her, she said yes, and they're all screaming, and they're like, all right, we got to go to commercial. Thanks, Joe. And they hung up.
And that was it.
And I'm sitting in my dressing room. Like, what just happened? And the only person who I could talk to was Rhonda. I was like, wow, what just happened in my life? It was a really crazy moment.
That's
to,
cool.
to have it
really,
all sink in. And then there was nothing. Like,
her face was very like, she wasn't like shocked, like, I'm going to say no. It was more like, wow, this is, it was really a cool live television moment.
You weren't ready for it.
So now you're listen, you've been doing this a long time. Last night we talked briefly. I usually, when I have actors on, like, I like to talk about the grind. Listen, you've had some awesome bookings over the years, and I guess I've had some myself, but nothing, not like well, let's talk about Jersey Boys. Jersey Boys, that was in Vegas.
Yeah, I did it in Vegas. So it was the Broadway production. The Broadway show was running, and then it was so successful that they would mount other productions and put them in different cities. There was a production in Chicago, there was London, there was Melbourne, Australia, there was Toronto and Vegas. So Vegas ran for eight or 9 years, which is in a lifetime of a Broadway musical, not even on Broadway, but in another town. So I did the Vegas show for 8 years, and then Jersey Boys live.
Do they put you up in a? You get room and board, or you get?
So they gave me a car for a year.
Wow.
Did they give me a housing stipend for a year? I think it was like a housing stipend. So you could live in company housing, or you could just take some money and go live where you wanted. So I actually went out thinking it was just going to be for a little bit. And my wife and kids came out a couple of months later till after I got settled. And
so you had a wife and how many kids at the time?
I had 2 kids at the time. Yeah.
Wow, so you had to move them out to Vegas.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
There's
crazy.
no better place to start a family.
But they grew up, like my oldest son went 1st through 8th grade in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the funny thing was, I ended up, so we lived out there, and it was cheaper at that time. It was like 2009. It was after the housing crash. It was actually cheaper to buy a house than it was to rent a house. So we ended up buying a house just because it was literally less expensive. And then my wife, coming from the newscasting business, was had left the business by that point and became a teacher. She went back to school, got a teaching certificate, started to teach like middle school, grade school, middle school. And we went out to Vegas. She was looking for a job, and there was a Catholic high school looking for a broadcasting teacher. I'm like, who's more perfect for her? A broadcasting teacher. So she goes in for the interview. It's 117 degrees in the car. I'm sitting with the kids in the back. I'm a dirty, sweaty mess. And I studied TV and film production in college. I didn't study acting. So she goes in for 15 minutes, comes back out, and she goes, they want to talk to you. I go, about what? She goes, no, they want to see you. You're better for this than I am. Like, what are you talking about? So I ended up getting hired by Bishop Gorman High School. If you're a sports fan, like Bishop Gorman High School is like a huge sports juggernaut.
Well, wait a minute, though. So
football.
you beat your okay.
Here for the job.
Dave and I, well, I'm not married anymore, but Dave is, so you beat you. There had to be a household ramification.
No, she wanted me to do it. She didn't want the gig. Once she learned what it wasn't really her thing. It was more my thing. It was like putting together a TV production facility.
And now she's got the dabble right over the top and say, hey, listen, remember that time I got you that job, you jerk off?
No, but I made like no money. It wasn't for the money. It was just, but it was good. I started a whole production there. So it was fun. I mean, Vegas ended up being fun for us. It was good.
Wow. And plus not talking dollars, but the money is really good on those shows. So you were able to.
Oh, on Jersey Boys. Yeah, I mean, it was like Broadway. It was like being on Broadway.
Right.
It was a principal contract. Jip DeCarlo, the mob boss, is a principal role, and it's honestly, I got to be honest with you, they call it like the princess track in
well,
musical
my buddy,
theater.
I know we have you might know that my friend, God rest his soul, Eddie Driscoll, he did it in the San Francisco production.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he did it for a while, but he got let go.
You know who
God
else?
Rest his soul.
You know who else passed away? Joe. Oh my goodness, Joe Saravo, who did it on tour. Who was in Sopranos.
Oh wow, that's right.
But it was a great.
Let's talk about the dead Italian actors part of this.
Yeah, I know, right? We're going down the right.
Yeah, you got Gandalf.
But I will tell you this: you'll appreciate this. Sometimes I'd go in. You do a couple of lines in the beginning, you play the judge real quick, you go on and do the mob guy. It's like a very quick scene, and you do a bowling guy and you're done. Then I'm done for 45 minutes. So I'm sitting in my dressing room, there's nothing to do. So I would take off my outer shirt, just go in my t-shirt. I still have my microphone in my head and go out in the casino and play craps for 45 minutes.
No, really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so wrong in every way.
Just set an
basically,
alarm.
you came home with Vegas with 8 cents. That's what
Well, I did it for a couple of weeks, and then after it wasn't working too well, I was like, all right, I got to stop this. But
your wife knew about the craps with the 40.
Yeah, she encouraged me actually. She was a big fan. Yeah,
so listen, I didn't take that.
Them there, Joe.
Right.
That's it. Yeah, no, she
proposed after 9 months. I proposed after 6 months.
One time I went out and I
she
put
has
20
regretted
bucks
it ever since.
Oh.
That's not true. Your wife's great for you, Dave. Who are we kidding?
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was fun.
We'll talk about drafting wives and like quarterbacks on another episode. But now that's a major. I never had a gig that sustained for that long. I mean, I did this show live on tape in the city. I had moments where I was like talked about going in the first round of the draft.
But you've got 190 credits, right? I mean, you have
but they're nothing. No 8 years in Vegas or
But that's the difference.
On AMC.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, blessed that I've had long-term gigs. 8 years in
That's huge.
Jersey Boys in Vegas, and 5 years on Another World, and
That's
2 years in Tony and Tina's wedding, and
that's awesome.
3 years in Bronx Tale. With the which was was another thing. Working
I'm
with
like
Chad.
the Rusty Staub of
Bronx
acting.
Tale.
Now. I
Listen,
just
I'm not a Broadway enthusiast by any stretch, because I just never got into
Sure,
it. But
I get it.
when you get married and they want to do some Broadway shit, you do some Broadway shit. So I actually saw A Bronx Tale, and let me tell you something, man. I was blown away. Like,
Really?
I don't, like I said, I don't usually do the Broadway stuff, but I was like, I walked out of there. I'm like, so like, what's next? What's the next one we can go to?
Dave,
You know?
I always say I do the Broadway shows that are made for guys that hate Broadway shows, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Jersey Boys, Bronx Tale. These are shows that it's so easy to promote, because I just say, if you're a guy and you're not really into musical theater, this is the show for you. If you're a wife and your husband's not into musical theater, take him to this, because he'll love this.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
When they were showcasing Bronx Tale, the guy I did improv with, Jack Gindy, was in that same showcase. They did 3 one-acts, and there were investors there. And after the show, my buddy Jack Indy's play like totally rocked. And the Bronx Tale one audience didn't quite buy in. So underneath in the dressing room, what's his name? The Bronx Tale guy, Chaz, was like sitting there with his hand in his head. It's like, that's it. I can't invest any more in this. It's like, and my buddy Jack was like patting him on the back, like, oh, hang in there, you'll be okay. A year later, Bronx Tale, movie, plays, and my buddy Jack Indy is working at a bank somewhere. So it's like
right.
And also, Bronx Tale
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Bronx Tale was shot right in front of my grandmother's house in Astoria, Queens.
Astoria, yeah.
And me in our rookie year, a young Artie Lang and a young Jimmy Palumbo auditioned to be extras in that. And we went down there. We had lunch with my grandmother.
Wait a minute. You have to audition to be an extra?
Yeah, you had to go to this room and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We went. We were rookies.
Jimmy, I think I was there too.
And
time.
They told us, thank you.
They kicked us out.
They kicked us out.
They told you, you know what? You're not good for this role, but maybe if you guys want to get older, fatter, and out of shape, you can do like a softball movie.
There we go.
Like that.
I wanted to be Coffee Cake, whatever that guy's name was.
Okay.
So, listen, you're going to be on Broadway. Yeah, this is awesome. So you of course you go a long time without sometimes booking work. Did you have to audition for this, or did you know? How did you get this Bobby Darin thing? Besides your talent.
This is the dream. I literally got an offer. I got an email from my agent saying we would like to offer you, but it was not an offer for the Broadway. It was an offer for a reading. So they were doing readings of it to listen to the script and see if it was any good, and just working the project. And so they offered me. They said, "Would you please just do this reading?" It was for like a week, which is not open to the public. It's really just for the creative people and the producers, and they listen to it and see if they like it. And that went really well. So I've just been with the project ever since.
That's just awesome. I get invited to do Dave Sturchow's podcast.
This is key Jimmy type shit, because he invited you on. For one, again, I apologize for not knowing, because I didn't see the email, but this is a key thing. Jimmy gets these actors and these successful people on, and then you tell this life story about how successful shit is. You're gonna jump off, right? You're gonna be like, all right, guys, take care, man. And all right, good job. And then we're gonna say, wow, what a great experience. And then we're gonna end the show, and then Jimmy's gonna be like, I fucking hate my life right now. I can't.
That's not true.
Oh, it's so true.
Well, first of all,
it's gonna be self-deprecation day here at Shea.
Well,
right
it could
after
be.
you jump
Listen,
off
on a week, Rutgers plays Penn State tonight at the Rack. If Rutgers loses to Penn State in hoops tonight, I may have a little. You know what, Dave? You bring up Joe. You're gonna understand this. When I was younger, anyway, jealousy is not the right word. It was more envy. The guys you were growing up with in the biz, and guys like Louis. I guess I started out around the same time as him. When they booked something, there was that feeling of like, and then jealousy is not the right word, because you were happy for your friend.
Yeah, it's true.
But a weird thing, a combination of envy of like, well, why? When is my number going to come up? All those feelings. And then when you get older, a little bit older, and the business is just pounding you away, and you see no light at the end of the tunnel, And then you see Louis Martini books a Law and Order. You're watching TV and it's like, Louis. And then you're like, this is for me. I'm like, oh, Louis, good for him. I know he needed it for his health insurance. He needed it for all that. Yeah, right. And then you go like, hey, if Louis books stuff, like I'm gonna book stuff. You go from, I hate when I read for a role and I don't know the actor that booked it now. I like it to be, I'm not going to be, you're a young strapping fella, but me and you are not reading for the same role. But if I see someone that I audition for a big role, I don't get it. And I either see someone that's a star or a buddy of mine sometimes. I know.
Right.
I get like, all right. I'm right there. There's no envy or jealousy. It's more like, hey, I'm in the game. I don't know if you have those experiences.
100%. We have, I mean, and I know, some of the other guys like Ricky Pasqualone. And I know you played softball with.
I play softball. By the way, my whole career is based on softball.
I know.
Softball with Louis Martini in the park on Mondays, and I play with Rick Pasqualone. Same thing. So funny.
But we're all in that same category. We were all in that same genre, the same era. We all went up for the same roles. Louis, I say that in Tony and Tina, I actually replaced Louis. But we were both up for the same role in Sopranos, and Louis' role in Sopranos, I went in for that for the final callback. David Chase sitting there, and Louis got it, and I didn't. But what? I was happy that Louis got it. At least it was somebody I knew.
Yeah, that's how
we always. And to be honest with you, and this is really weird. I don't think women are. I shouldn't.
No, you're right. You're right on the money. You're right on the money. You are.
You
right
know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you're gonna be like, I'm so happy for you, and then they'll turn around like that bitch.
Right. And I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but at the same time, like we used to do this.
Paint away.
I gotta be honest with you. Okay, I forget where I am.
The show's so much better when the Cowboys lose. But if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl one year, this would be the worst podcast.
We used to do this, like between Ricky and Louie and Alan Steele. I don't know if you know Alan Steele and Creo. Like when things would come up, we would all call each other and say, "Hey, did you hear about this thing? Did you go in on this?"
Right.
We would actually tell each other about an audition. I mean, whoever heard of that?
No, it's true. You
did that.
You totally get. It's just a weird thing. And now, like what I hate now with the pandemic, the cosmic changes in auditioning. Like I probably saw you at an audition, didn't know you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Somewhere
I probably think we saw each other probably at Bronxdale because I got kicked out of the extra to be an extra in that thing too. Steele and I, Alan Steele and I
see all the name, but now I don't see anybody. I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Right. You see him at auditions. You see Louis. I miss Louis and Ricky's on California still doing a lot of VO stuff. But I miss that, the ball breaking, and
I know
it's like locker room talk. It's
I know.
That's how you learn. I got you. You don't know shit. I'm on deadline trying to find out about some shitty independent movie being shot in Morristown, and it's it's the camaraderie. Yeah, there's a lack of. We communicate though with texting and social media, but it's not the same as sitting next to a guy and you learn. He either just got married, or maybe he's getting a divorce, or maybe he's losing his house, or maybe he's buying a house, or he just booked a. There was a guy who was on the balls of his ass for a long time, and he booked a major commercial. They must have done literally 50 of these commercials, and he was hurting. He was losing his house, and then he hit a home run into deep of the night. I'm going to mention his name, but he's and next thing you know, he's like, I know how much those things pay. It was national network, and he did at least 40 of them, and it aired for 8 years. So just do the math, and that's how we cling to that. Yeah, but I often wonder, did you ever think about getting out?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought about that this morning.
Before I got
whenever I log into the show, I'm like, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final showbiz piece of my career.
Yeah.
But then I know when I hit rock bottom, I'm landing on Dave Sturcho. We'll be right back. Did you ever think about quitting though?
Oh, totally. In fact, and I wouldn't call it quitting, but I mean, making a decision in your life because, I was very blessed. I went Tony and Tina and basically into the soap world. I did almost 5 years on Another World, all my children. Awesome. While I was doing Another World, I did Grease on Broadway. So I'm thinking, I've, not arrived, but you feel like I'm never going to go back to waiting tables and bartending and, bouncing and things like that anymore. And when Another World got canceled, I threw threw it all in. I went to Nashville. I said, I'm going to go write music and go play music and go be a country music star. And I went to Nashville for 2 years, and I turned down stuff in New York.
What are you like? What are you like, an early Beyonce? You're a Guido fuck and all these roles.
Well, I learned that when I got down
Listen,
there.
I used to love Gandolfini's country band that he had for years.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
You know what happened?
Country music.
Very
What are we
quickly.
talking about?
I'll tell you very quickly. What happened was this. So I had thought about in the back of my mind, I like the music. I could play it. I thought I could sing. So at the end of Another World, we had a day where this country singer, Shelley Wright, was on our show. She was a real country singer playing herself, and her band came on the show. So I brought my guitar that day, and I thought, I'm going to go hang out. I'll play with the band. So I played with the band. We're in my dressing room all day long. I'm playing music and with her band. And we hit it off, and we're playing everything. We had a great time. You sit there for hours waiting to go on set. So we're playing everything. We're doing 80s rock. We're doing country stuff. We're doing Broadway stuff. And they said, hey, the show's going to be canceled. What are you going to do? And I go, I don't know. I have kind of thought about going to Nashville. They're like, do it. Come down. Hang out with us. We'll write stuff. We'll produce stuff. We'll get you started and do it, all the stuff. We're great. So
did you do an album?
No. So
you hesitated.
The show got canceled.
You got one. I want the MP3s. Come on, you must have something.
I don't have anything. So the show got canceled. I went down to Nashville. And these guys, and we're hanging out all night, and they're singing in these bars in the Prentice Alley in Nashville, and asked me to come up and hang out. I'm like, no, because I wanted to do it when I was really ready, you know. Long story short, I came back to New York to do All My Children. They offered me like a couple of months. I said, all right, I'm going to hang on for a second, hit pause, let me go back and do this, make some money, and come back. I came back and they said, hey, we just signed a record deal. You know what we're going to call ourselves? By the way, these guys like loaded my furniture, brought my couches up 3 flights of stairs into my apartment, brought in refrigerators and stuff. Like they were my buddies. They said, we just signed a record deal. Guess what we're going to call ourselves? Rascal Flats. What do you think?
Oh, man, you're kidding me.
No. And they took off. And,
oh, boy.
And
so
I was
you
like,
could have been the bass player on Rascal Flats.
Huh? The bass player was my closest friend. He was a good guy, Jay. So now I'm sitting in Nashville and I had nothing going on. Like I had no hook. I didn't know anybody.
Makes my Microsoft story seem a little soft.
And it just went downhill. So between that and then I went 2 years and then went back to New York, said, let me just go back and do what I do. And then, you lose momentum, you lose connections, you lose everything. And there was a time I was going to take the LSAT.
But hang on a second, though. Mr. Music over there.
Yeah.
I go to noon mass a couple weeks ago. And I glance up over at the band area, and who is strumming that bass? Your friend of mine, Joe Barbera. Little did I know there was a Rascal Flat in St. Paul's and Ramsey.
No. I was never in their group. I was going to do my own thing. Listen, they were just going to help me.
Yeah, you were going to be Joe Barbera and the Rascal Flats. That's what you are.
Joe seems to be that kind of guy where it's just like the talent gets nauseating to the outside person. Like there's just so many like good things that he does. It's like, man, like this show got canceled. What am I gonna do? And then the person's like, well, you can come down to Nashville, and you're like, well, I just so happen to have my guitar on me.
Right. I get the feeling his next story is gonna be like
Nashville.
I went on vacation in Cape Canaveral, and someone said, hey, I'm an astronaut. Next thing you know, I'm on the moon and I'm flying the Space Challenger all over the world.
It really is not that easy. I got to be honest with you. It's been rough. Ask my wife. It's not been easy.
I ended up playing second base on a softball team in Wawa. That's what happened to me.
Can I tell you something? Can we change something for 1 second? Speaking of second base and speaking of
your show now, you're doing a podcast now.
So
the Joe Barbera Show featuring Jimmy and Dave.
No, Jimmy, you don't know this, but I auditioned for Beer League.
You did? For
I
what?
did.
Oh, probably Manganelli.
From Ralph Macchio's role.
Oh, Ralph Macchio.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. But well, they went with the name, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. But I knew they was going with the name from the audition itself, because here's what happened. It was kind of infuriating. The casting director, this was her. Well, bro, she never looked at me. I came in to read, and her head was down the entire time. And I'm doing the scene right here. And she's just like writing stuff.
It's so
doing
bad.
Other things, not even
she
looking
sucked.
up.
That sounds like a scene right out of Entourage.
First of all, I had the role to start, obviously,
right.
And when somebody had to be sleeping with this casting director, because when she got the job, I looked up her name and I was like, oh, who's the casting director? And at least I was like, I wanted to be a big time casting director,
right?
and maybe I'll be brilliant in this movie, and she'll cast me in the next James Bond movie as the guy that's killed in the beginning, right?
Right.
And it's this woman who casted like the Ramsey High School play. I mean, who is this lady? And and she was like not friendly on it. Please.
No,
I'm throwing her under the bus. The movie was 20 years.
No, but I'll throw her under the bus because she never looked. I mean, that's like, I don't care if you've got. And I came home and I was like, they must have somebody already signed to do this because she never even looked up. Literally, I saw the top of her head.
Actually, no, it was between. So basically, it was between you, Ralph, and Scott Baio. That was that was the final.
I had a shot
there
then, right?
I always bust Ralph's balls on that. Scott Baio, quick three, in and out. That'll do it. And Macho escaping here in the Sweet 16. But Joe Barbaro was eliminated the first round. But I thought maybe you did the Manganelli audition, the Nemesis.
No.
That's so fun. Yeah, we would. Your trailer would have been right next to mine. We would have been.
We would have been buddies all this time.
We would have been buddies this whole time. Instead, we're
on
church
the show
buddies.
years ago.
That's so funny. All right, listen, Joe. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for waiting. I can't believe you're in the. I just read about the Bobby Darin thing. And I can't wait to bring. Definitely, you will be getting me not free, but preview tickets so I can get nice seats. Yeah. And what role are you even playing in that? Are you?
I technically play 4 roles, right? But mostly.
So you're playing quarterback, tight end, running back.
No, but they make it.
No,
but that's theater. No, don't do that. That's theater. Theater, they get away
more
cheap.
Talent. I'm like the holder on Extra Points, and you're like,
stop.
Joe, you're doing me such a disservice, man. Like, you don't understand the text and the calls I'm going to get after this show.
That's not true. That's
no. So to answer your question, I'm going to say, to answer your question, Steve Blauner is Bobby's manager, So I play him. And Bobby's sort of like brother-in-law is this guy. His name was Charlie Mafia. His last name was Mafia, Maffia.
Nice.
So, guys, look, in the world of musical theater, I am, the toughest, straightest Italian guy you can find. And so I get, this kind of gig. Charlie is like, blue collar Italian guy from the Bronx. So that's really it. I also do a little Elvis, which is going to be kind of fun. And another sort of impersonation.
I auditioned for Taylor Swift 2 weeks ago, and I got a call back. So we'll see how that goes.
And Jimmy's going to shake it off right after the show.
Yeah, I was up.
But there's only 4
voiceover
guys.
between me and James Earl Jones. I don't know who's going to get it.
I got to tell you. So number one, you're going to love. I'm going to tell you this about the show. You're going to love the sirens. There's 3 or possibly 4 sirens in the show. They're dancers. They're like Bobby's showgirl dancers.
Okay.
They're phenomenal.
Wow. Any of them over 45? Quick 3 from Palumbo.
Jesus Christ.
There's Michelle Park, who's a Tony winner, plays his mother. Emily Burgle, you've seen in everything. Like
this is gonna be this is a big time show, bro.
It's gonna be.
Or is it like Cher? Kind of, it's one of those and those kind of in that line, or is it more dramatic? Because Bobby Darin has some wild shit happen in his life.
It's pretty. I don't know. I didn't see the Cher show, so I can't compare.
Are they doing the whole his sister was her mother thing? They're covering all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
his sister was the actual mother, and the mother was the grandmother.
Correct.
Right? Am I getting that right?
That is exactly right.
And he had a heart issue. That's why he wanted to do things like he was one of those guys like. He did 7 different kinds of albums.
He thought he was going to die when he was 16, so everything else was like borrowed time.
And I heard from a couple of old people.
Same way.
I heard from a couple of old timers that used to go to Vegas way back in the day. Everybody talks about Sinatra at the Sands, but 3 or 4 people have told me by far the best show in Vegas. Like, even though Sinatra is famous now, he was famous then. But like, in other words, everybody's like Bobby Darin show was the show. Show in Vegas.
It's true. And I'll tell you something else. So Joe Piscopo's has been a friend of mine since we did Grease 100 years ago, right? So I was telling him about the show, and he picks up the phone and calls Tony Orlando.
Is Joe Piscopo on heroin too, or no?
No.
I'm sorry, that's Artie Lang, my friend for 100 years.
No. He picks up the phone and calls Tony Orlando because Tony Orlando and Bobby Darin were very, very good friends. So he puts me on with Tony Orlando, and Tony tells me that Sammy Davis Jr. told Tony that the only act, they asked Sammy, who will you not follow? Who's the one guy you will not follow? And Sammy Davis Jr. said Bobby Darin.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's I love hearing that
And
stuff.
the theater is actually going to be like set up like the Copa. It's going to be like a big
I can't
showroom.
wait. What theater is it going to be
And
in?
it's Circle in the Square. So there's actually going to be like cocktail tables where you can actually sit at cocktail tables where we'll walk in between you. It'll be like a showroom.
Oh, cool.
So
Oh,
it's going to be fun.
That's awesome. Listen,
Fun.
I appreciate you coming on the show. This was awesome. I love you, and I wish you all the success. I can't wait to see the show. I can't
Thanks,
wait to
guys.
see you at church. Can't wait to bust your wife's chops now about the broadcasting job. And she's probably listening right now going, that's not how it went down.
Yeah, she's in the other room, but she'll see it later. Yeah, I know.
All right. Listen, thank you so much. And, well,
man.
you know what? We're almost, what do we got to do here? Oh, stay on for something. I know Dave's going to yell at me for extending the show, but it's okay. Listen, Joe, since you've been chasing miracles, why don't you go to chasingmiracles.com and get some stem cell patches?
Okay.
It's shit your body needs here at Shea. Go talk to Tommy and Donna, chasingmiracles.com. These patches, I'm wearing them right now. My mom wears them. Her friends wear them. Chasingmiracles.com. Really good for your health at a cellular level and all that stuff. But it brings us to cornholelevel.com, which I don't know. Listen, sounds like your cornhole is just fine. Where the hell's my cornhole? Oh, here it is. I don't know if you know about this, Joe. Cornhole level. If you got a cornhole board, you hook it on and you balance the cornhole. That way it's at the perfect height. It balances with a little thing in here. My buddy owns a company, 1995, cornholelevel.com, and they sponsor the coolest Mr. Fantasy Football League over there. Hope you lose in the playoffs. They sponsor the NFL Stinks List. This is the Jimmy Palumbo's. Okay, Dave, cue the button, Dave.
Go ahead.
Oh, wow.
All right, look at that.
Cool.
It's 1987 technology here on the Jimmy Palumbo Show. All right, NFL Stinks List. Okay, AFC East, Buffalo Bills, very good. Dolphins, I'm sorry, they stink because they almost lost to the Jets. The Jets stink. Patriots stink. AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers. I got to keep them at very good because the Steelers never suck. They've had 4 coaches since they got in the league. Baltimore Ravens, I'm keeping them at good. Cincinnati Bengals, I'm sorry, I think they stink. Cleveland Browns stink. Houston Texans, good. Indianapolis Colts, average. Jaguars and Titans, you both stink. Kansas City Chiefs. The only time me and Dave talk during NFL games is when the Chiefs are on and the game is close. And me and Dave discuss the Chiefs are going to easily win this one. And of course, the guy punts the ball out of bounds, give Mahomes the ball at the 40. I was like, are you kidding me? And then they score and that whole thing. I got the Chiefs is very good. Chargers is good. Broncos as good. Vegas Raiders, I'm sorry, you stink. The NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley, that jerk off. I got still is very good. I got the Commanders as average because they didn't play. Dallas Cowboys, I'm sorry, Dave, they still stink. And the Giants are inhumanely stink. Detroit Lions, this is the best division coming up here. NFC North, Detroit Lions, very good. Vikings, very good. Packers, I'm keeping them at very good. See how long that lasts. The Bears, I'm sorry, you stink. And the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, average. Atlanta Falcons, stink. Saints, stink. Panthers, stink. Seahawks, I upgraded to average. The Rams upgraded to average by beating the Bills. And, of course, the Cardinals and 49ers both stink. But that division, everyone's right around the same. So we got 16 stinks, 5 averages, 4 goods, and 7 very goods for the second week in a row. Wow. So when I watch the games this week, I want to see all the very goods get toppled. I'm waiting I'm telling you guys right now, Chiefs lose a game, they're immediately going to average. I don't care for 1 week. I got to do it because they just never lose. I don't understand. They're the worst 11-1 team I've ever seen in my life. But my nephew loves them. My mom's rooting for him now. Everyone's wearing the red. Pacheco went to Rutgers. Whole thing makes me sick. Really quickly, before we wrap up, Yellowstone is boring without Kevin Costner. They're like the Bulls in '94, and it's just true. Without Kevin Costner, show stinks. And also check out the Winston Churchill documentary on Netflix. If you're a history buff, it's awesome. And don't forget Absolute Eyewear sponsoring the 1 Minute Madison show on our show, 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326-3937. Go check it out. Charles Oakley's going to be in Jersey Boys with Joe Barbera. And also that joke
He's going to be in Chicago, actually. He's going to play Billy Flynn in Chicago because Eddie George did it already.
While he's selling glasses for Absolute
Eyewear.
Eyewear.
George played Billy Flynn in Chicago, right?
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
like Eddie George, the running back?
Eddie George, the running back. The Heisman Trophy winner, Eddie George.
What'd you do? Well, I was a great running back. Now I'm just doing Broadway shows.
I was a coach. He's coaching now.
Well, listen, next week I have a guest, the guy Joe Rogan. I don't know if you know him. He's coming on the show. This is just. But don't forget the Pine Tar Bar and Grill to watch all your NFL games down in Forked River. Give Tommy a shout and go check him out. Also, Lisa Ruane, therapist. If you're feeling like shit and you're not booking any work or your podcasts are going shitty, call Lisa Ruane, who will never talk to Joe Barbera because he's just booking more work every hour on the hour.
Yeah, no, Jimmy rehearses this in the mirror every morning. Like, I'm feeling down and feeling out. Who can I call? Lisa Ruane.
That's incredible.
Go check her out. She's great. Hey, listen, Joe, thank you. The show was a little long, but I don't care. I loved it. I didn't know half that stuff about you. I think it's great. And I can't wait to see you in March on the, what's the title? It's not the bat.
It's called Just in Time. Just in Time. Yeah.
Which is one of his songs. You ever listen to that song Artificial Flowers by Bobby Darin?
Bro, I love that song.
Me and my daughter loves it till the lyrics. That show should be called Go Hang Yourself.
It's
the most depressing lyric. It's about a little girl whose parents die, and she makes artificial flowers next to the window in a tenement, and it snows, and she freezes to death making artificial flowers. It's this upbeat song, Artificial Flower, and the kid freezes to death making fake flowers. It's an
upbeat, happy tune. It's a swinging tune.
6-year-old kid dies by freezing to death in a window because her parents died and no one paid the heating bill.
So
my God!
But Mac the Knife is also about a killer as well, right?
Yeah, so it's all about death and Con Ed and God bless.
And Clementine, do you know his version of Clementine? I know you got to go.
Yes, it's great. Great. I'm a huge Bobby Darin fan. I love it. Love it. Well, listen, that's it. That's our show. Dave, we have to go pick up our kids at school. How old are your kids now?
Mine, 21, 19, and 14.
Oh, my God. You're like a real adult. Me and Dave are like fourth-year guys out of Texas. You're like a veteran. Any of them in showbiz?
No. No, with no
and you're
desire.
Even a good dad.
That was an emphatic no.
He's even a good dad.
It is an emphatic no from them. I
was hoping you were a shitty dad and we could attack you on that, but I can't.
No, I don't know. But no, they absolutely have no desire.
And you're in shape. Oh, this is a great interview. Me and Dave look like offensive linemen from Texas.
First of all, I can bench 300, Jimmy. How much can you bench?
Okay, but you weigh 300 pounds, so calm down.
Bullshit. I'm at like 270.
And the show ends with haywire.
I'm at 270.
It's all $2.
Look, you just said 270 like you're proud of that. You fat bastard. No, Dave's in shape. I'm the only one not in shape. Say nice things at the wake. That's our show. Thanks, Joe Barbera, Dave Sergio.
Joe, it was great meeting you, man.
You too, Dave.
I'll talk to you later on.
All right, man.